the Negro in this country from the level of civil rights to the level of human rights.
On February 21st, 1965, he was assassinated while giving a speech at the Audubon Ballroom in Harlem. Now, 56 years later, a letter given to Malcolm X's daughters could hold proof the NYPD and the FBI conspired to have him killed.
I am relieved that I am able to share this truth with the world today.
Reginald Wood reads the words of his cousin, former undercover cop Raymond Wood, who died in November. He wrote that letter in 2011 to be released upon his death.
It was my assignment to draw the two men into a felonious federal crime so that they could be arrested by the FBI.
Those men were members of Malcolm X's security detail and were arrested days before his assassination.
There was no security to prevent the gunmen from coming into the building.
3 members of the Nation of Islam were convicted of the murder.
Malcolm's death never sat right with me.
On the heels of the 2020 Netflix documentary, Who Killed Malcolm X?, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office began a preliminary review last February. After the letter's release, it says their review remains active and ongoing. As for the NYPD and the FBI, they say they have turned over all their relevant records to the DA and will cooperate. For CBS This Morning, Michelle Miller, New York.
First on CBS This Morning, Malcolm X's daughter, that's Ilyasa Shabazz, and civil rights attorney Ben Crump join us to discuss. Good to see you both. I want to start with you, Ilyasa, because I can't imagine what it was like for you as his daughter, hearing those words for the first time on Saturday. What were your thoughts as you heard them?
Wow. Well, first, good morning, Gail. It's a pleasure to be here with you. When we first heard that letter, it made us think of our father, who was just in his 20s when he burst onto the scene of the civil rights movement, and 39 when he was gunned down, when he was assassinated in 1965. He gave the biggest critique of America, and he wanted America to live up to her promise of liberty and justice for all. And we have seen historically the injustice against Black Americans primarily, and my father worked diligently to ensure the end of this senseless brutality.
Were you surprised by the words? Were you surprised to hear what the officer said?
I can say I was surprised because I was caught off guard, but it's something that my family and many always wondered. But most importantly, we wanted to ensure that the truth is uncovered.
Mm-hmm. Ben Crump, I know that good to see you, Ben, and we should say you're not representing the family at this time, but I know the Wood family brought the letter to you in November. Why was it not revealed until last weekend?
Well, one of the things Reggie Wood wanted to know, Gail, when he came to me, what do I do with this? Do I turn it to the federal government, to the FBI? And the question was, would they simply just suppress it? As this had been a secret for 56 years that Ray Wood had carried under duress. He had been told that there would be personal harm to him and his family if he ever told people about the FBI and the NYPD conspiring to assassinate Malcolm X. And so, Gail, this is about restorative justice, trying to vindicate those who have been wrongfully convicted by Ray Wood, NYPD, and the FBI, people like Panther 21, including Tupac Shakur's mother, Afeni Shakur. Those 2 men who spent almost 3 decades in prison to keep Ray's secret, for trying to discredit civil rights leaders. And in Malcolm's case, and many believe in Fred Hampton and Martin Luther King's case, led to their deaths.
Yeah. Ilyasa, I'm curious, given what Mr. Crump just said about Officer Wood, the late Officer Wood, I'm very curious what you think of him today. On the one hand, he's written this letter, so the information is now out there, but on the other hand, he was part of it back then, and he was silent for so many years.
Gail, listen, my parents' home was firebombed on Valentine's Eve as they both lay in bed asleep. A bomb was thrown in the nursery of their baby's room where my sisters and I slept. 1 week later, my mother witnessed this horrific assassination of her husband. She was a young woman with 4 babies and pregnant with twins. And I know that she was excited to walk into that Audubon ballroom that Sunday afternoon to see her husband. And she walked out shattered. She tended to his needs and opened his tie. And, you know, in spite of all of this trauma that she endured, she raised her 6 daughters with love, kindness, joy. You know, I just take my hat off to her.
To your mother, yes.
And if we can find out
the truth. We could
Yeah.
find out the truth. Ilyasa, we don't have much time left. I know, Ben, you've called for a commission on this, but I'm curious, Ilyasa, about what do you think is the biggest misperception about your dad, and do you think his message is being perceived differently these days? Can you say it in a couple of
Well, I
sentences?
think now that, yes, I can. Young people were politicized this summer when they witnessed the death of George Floyd. I think that many people are now turning to Malcolm because they realize that Malcolm had a profound reaction to these horrific injustices that continue to occur even today.
All right, Ilyasa Shabazz, still there are so many questions that need to be answered, and I hope that you get them. Ben Crump, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for bringing this
Thank you,
letter to
Gail.
light. Ahead on CBS this morning, our more